You used to feel like his world revolved around you, not in a suffocating way, but in the kind of way that made your heart swell because he wanted to know you. Every part of you. The good, the messy, the complicated, the brilliant. He asked about your day like he genuinely wanted to hear the answer. He remembered your favorite song, your childhood fears, your dreams for the future. And when you spoke, he listened, not just with his ears, but with his eyes, his energy, his full presence. But now? Now it feels like background noise every time you try to connect. You talk and he nods. You share something deep and he changes the subject. You open up about something hurting inside, and he responds like he's reading from a script instead of feeling what you're saying. And somewhere inside you start to wonder, does he even care anymore? Because real love doesn't stop being curious. Real love doesn't let conversations become surface level and shallow. Real love dives deeper, not away. It leans in when things get emotional. It wants to understand, not escape. So why does it feel like he's pulling back? Like he no longer wants to know the quiet thoughts in your mind or the dreams you haven't told anyone else? Why does it feel like he's stopped asking questions? Like he's already decided he doesn't need to know you anymore? You've tried to ignore it, tried to tell yourself it's normal, that people get distracted, busy, stressed. But this isn't stress. This is disinterest, disguised as closeness. This is someone slowly stepping out of your life while you keep trying to pull them back in. And here's the painful truth. Curiosity is a natural part of love. When it fades, so does the connection. You deserve more than half-hearted conversations, more than blank stares when you speak, more than silence where there used to be engagement. You deserve someone who wants to know everything about you, not just the easy parts, but the raw ones too. Someone who sees you, truly sees you, and still chooses to stay close. But right now, he's not doing that. He's not asking how you feel, not diving into your emotions, not trying to understand the shifts in your energy, the changes in your mood, the subtle ways you're crying out for connection without saying it outright. And that hurts. It stings deeper than rejection ever could because it makes you question whether you still matter, whether you're worth knowing, or whether you're too much or not enough or simply forgotten. Stop. Right there. This is not about you being too much. It's not about you being broken or unlovable or hard to understand. It's about him choosing distance over intimacy, silence over support, detachment over curiosity. Love means wanting to know the other person on a soul level. It means asking questions not just once, but always, because people change, grow, evolve. And if you stop seeking to understand each other, you stop growing together. And if he's no longer doing that, if he's letting your conversations drift into small talk while you scream inside for real connection, then he's already checked out emotionally. And you can't force someone to come back once they've decided to leave. So why are you still chasing? Why are you still opening your heart only to be met with closed doors? Why do you keep giving pieces of your soul to someone who no longer treats them like treasure? Because you love deeply. Because you believed in loyalty. Because you don't want to walk away from something that once felt sacred. But here's what you must understand. Loving deeply does not mean staying blindly. Loyalty should never mean sacrificing your sense of worth. And walking away from something that no longer nourishes your soul isn't failure, it's strength. You were never meant to carry both sides of a relationship alone. You were meant to walk beside someone who wants to know you, who craves your thoughts, who leans in when you speak, who notices the shift in your voice when you're hurting, who catches the flicker in your eyes when something excites you, who wants to know your inner world, not out of habit, but out of genuine care. And if he stopped doing that, if he stopped wanting to know you, then it's time to stop pretending this is still love. It's time to stop begging for attention when you should be receiving it effortlessly. It's time to reclaim your power, your peace, your belief that you deserve more than silence disguised as closeness. Because you do. You deserve someone who hears you, really hears you, who asks questions because they want to understand, who remembers what matters to you, not because they have to, but because it's important to them. You deserve someone who shows up mentally, emotionally, completely. And until that person returns or arrives, you owe it to yourself to stop accepting less, to stop giving your heart to someone who no longer treats it like treasure, to stop waiting for someone to notice you when they've already turned away. So take a breath. Let this truth settle deep within you. You are not invisible. You are not too much. You are not the problem. You are simply asking for love that actually exists, for connection that's real, for attention that's given freely. And if he's not willing to give that to you, then it's time to walk away. Not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect, out of clarity, out of love for yourself, because you deserve better. And the moment you start believing that fully is the moment everything changes. You still remember the way he used to talk about you, not just to your face, but in front of others, in private moments, in passing conversations. He spoke about you with pride, not obligation, with warmth, not hesitation. You weren't just someone he was dating, you were someone he valued, someone he wanted the world to know mattered to him. But now it feels different, like you've faded into the background of his life, like you exist only in the moments you're physically there, and even then, it's like you're barely seen. He doesn't mention you when you're not around, doesn't bring up your name in conversation, doesn't defend you if someone says something questionable about who you are. And somewhere inside, you start to wonder, does he still respect me? Does he still see me as someone worth standing up for? Or have I become just another person in his life, one he no longer wants to fight for? Because real love doesn't hide. It doesn't whisper your name like a secret. It doesn't make you feel like an embarrassment or an inconvenience. Real love speaks up. Real love shows off. Real love defends, supports, and celebrates, not just behind closed doors, but in the open spaces of life. So why does it feel like he's doing none of that anymore? Or why do you catch him making jokes that hit too close to home? Why do you hear him compare you to others casually like it doesn't matter? Why does it feel like he's slowly building a case in his mind to walk away? Because people don't leave overnight. They leave after months of mental preparation, after telling themselves stories that justify their emotional exit. And one of the first signs, they stop talking about you like you're important. You deserve to be spoken about with dignity, with admiration, with pride, not just in private, but in public. Not just when things are easy, but when they're hard. You deserve someone who honors who you are, even when you're not in the room, who doesn't diminish your value with careless words, who doesn't let doubt creep into the space between you by what they say or don't say when you're not there. But right now, that's exactly what's happening. He's letting distance grow through silence, through omission, through subtle shifts in how he presents you to the world, and instead of calling it out, you've been brushing it off, telling yourself it doesn't mean anything, that everyone has off days, that maybe he's just tired, stressed, distracted. But deep down, you know better. You know that words carry weight, that the way someone talks about you when you're not there reveals more than what they say when you are. And if he stopped speaking about you with care, if he started comparing you to others even subtly, then he's already begun detaching. And you're still holding on, still trying to prove your worth, still hoping he'll come back to seeing you the way he once did. But here's the truth. You were never meant to fight so hard to be valued. You were meant to be cherished effortlessly, spoken about with kindness without needing to ask, held in high regard even when things got complicated. Because that's what real love does. It protects, it lifts, it defends. So why isn't he doing that? Why is he allowing negativity to slip into the way he talks about you? Why is he letting comparisons take root in his mind instead of shutting them down? Why is he giving power to thoughts that pull him further away from you instead of closer? Or because he's made a decision, one he hasn't said out loud yet. And every word he leaves unsaid, every comparison he allows himself to make, every moment he lets pass without reaffirming how much you mean to him. That's proof. You deserve better than to be second-guessed. Better than to be measured against others. Better than to be spoken about like you're just another name in his past instead of someone he's fighting to keep in his future. You deserve to be chosen, out loud, without hesitation, without excuse. And if he's not willing to do that, if he's letting his words betray the connection you once built together, then it's time to stop chasing someone who's already emotionally walking away. It's time to stop waiting for validation from someone who no longer sees your worth. It's time to reclaim your power, to walk away from whispers that no longer speak your value, to step into a future where your presence is celebrated, not questioned, because you are not too much, you are not broken, you are not a mistake. You are simply asking for love that actually exists, for words that match actions, for respect that doesn't fade over time. And if he's no longer willing to give that, then it's time to walk away, not with anger, not with regret, but with clarity, with strength, with the deep knowing that your voice deserves to be honored. Your name deserves to be spoken with care. Your heart deserves to be protected by the very person who claims to hold it, because you deserve better. And the moment you start believing that fully is the moment everything changes. You used to feel like you belonged in his world, not just as a passing presence, but as someone deeply rooted in his life. You met his friends, or you were part of his routines. He introduced you with pride, not hesitation. His world felt like your world too. Not because you forced your way in, but because he invited you, willingly, lovingly, fully. But now it feels like you're standing on the outside looking in. He doesn't bring you around his circle like he used to, doesn't include you in plans unless it's convenient, stops making an effort to connect you with the people who matter to him. And when you do meet them, it feels like you're there by accident, not by choice. And somewhere inside you start to question, am I still part of his life? Or am I slowly being phased out? Because real love doesn't isolate. Real love builds bridges, creates connections, opens doors. It wants the person it loves to be seen, accepted, celebrated by the people who shape their world. If he truly saw a future with you, if you were still important to him, he wouldn't let distance grow between you and the ones he calls his own. So why does it feel like he's letting that happen? Why are you no longer part of his inner circle? Why are you left out of gatherings without explanation? Why does it feel like he's slowly pulling away from sharing his full life with you? You've tried to ignore it, tried to tell yourself it's normal, that people have different boundaries, that maybe he just values privacy more than inclusion, but deep down, you know better. This isn't about privacy. This is about detachment wearing the mask of independence. You deserve to be part of the life he's building, not just in theory, but in practice. You deserve to be known by the people who shape his world. You deserve to feel like you belong, not conditionally, not occasionally, but fully. And if he's no longer giving you that, if he's letting you fade from his world without trying to pull you back in, then something fundamental has changed. Because emotional withdrawal doesn't always come in the form of arguments or silence. Sometimes it comes in the form of exclusion, of slow distancing, of letting go not with words, but with actions so subtle they almost escape notice until suddenly they don't. And now you notice everything. The way he avoids bringing you into group settings. The way he no longer makes space for you among the people he calls family and friends. The way conversations seem to shift when you walk in the room, as if everyone knows something you don't. And here's what hurts the most. You never did anything to be pushed away. You showed up. You gave your heart. You loved him openly, honestly, completely. You didn't demand perfection. You just asked for mutual effort, for connection, for inclusion, for respect. But instead of receiving that, you've been left on the edges. And you've been trying so hard not to make a big deal out of it. Trying to convince yourself that maybe this is just how things are now, that relationships change, that maybe he just needs space. But space should never feel like rejection. Distance should never feel like erasure, and if he's making you feel both, then it's time to stop pretending this is still a relationship built on mutual investment. You were never meant to fight so hard to stay relevant in his life. You were meant to walk beside someone who pulls you closer, not pushes you further away, someone who wants you in every part of their world, not just the parts that are easy, someone who introduces you proudly, who includes you effortlessly, or who defends your place in their life without hesitation. And if he's no longer doing that, if he's letting you slip from his world like sand through his fingers, then it's time to stop chasing someone who's already let go. It's time to reclaim your power, to step back from a connection that no longer honors your presence, to remind yourself that you are worthy of full inclusion, of deep belonging, of a love that doesn't hide you away but celebrates you openly, because you are not invisible. You are not unimportant. You are not someone to be phased out quietly while nobody says a word. You are powerful. You are valuable. You are deserving of a love that sees you, honors you, and shares you with the world. And if he can't or won't do that anymore, then it's time to walk away. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with clarity, with strength, with the unshakable belief that you deserve more than fading invitations and quiet exclusions. Because you were made for full love, real love, love that doesn't hide you away, but brings you in closer. And until then, you owe it to yourself to stop settling, to stop waiting, to start choosing peace over confusion, to start choosing yourself because you deserve better. And the moment you begin to believe that fully is the moment everything changes. You've spent so long trying to keep things together, haven't you? Always the one initiating conversations, always the one planning dates, always the one suggesting ways to reconnect, to grow, to fight for what you once had. You pour your energy into this relationship, your time, your heart, your hope, and yet it feels like you're carrying the entire weight of it alone. He doesn't reach out first. He doesn't make plans without being pushed. He lets you lead every move, every step forward, while he simply follows, if he follows at all. And when things fall apart, when the silence stretches too long or the distance grows too wide, you're the one reaching out again, trying again, hoping again, and somewhere deep inside you begin to ask yourself, why am I the only one doing this? Why am I the only one showing up? Because real love isn't a solo mission. It's a partnership, a shared effort, an ongoing decision from both people to choose each other, to build something together, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. And right now, you are the only one making that choice. You deserve someone who shows up without being reminded, who initiates because they miss you, not because they feel obligated, who wants to be close, not just when you push for it, but even when life gets messy. But instead, you've been doing all the work, not just emotionally, not just mentally, but in every way that matters. You're the one reminding him how much this connection used to mean, the one fighting to keep the spark alive, the one constantly pulling him back towards something that feels more and more one-sided. And it's exhausting, because love should give you energy, not drain it. Love should lift you up, not weigh you down. Love should feel like a shared journey, not a constant uphill climb with no support beside you. So why does it feel like you're walking alone? Why is he letting you carry everything? Is it fear, disinterest, a slow fading of feelings he no longer wants to fight for? Whatever it is, you don't have to carry it anymore. You were never meant to be the only one invested, the only one trying, the only one giving more than you receive. You were made for mutual effort, equal energy, shared devotion. And if he's not willing to meet you there, then you have to ask yourself, why are you still chasing someone who refuses to run toward you? Because that's what real love looks like. It runs toward you, even when scared, or even when confused, even when things aren't perfect. Real love doesn't wait for you to do all the work. It steps up, it shows up. It fights to stay close, not drift away. And if he's not doing that, if he's letting you do all the reaching, all the planning, all the fixing, then he's already made his choice. And you owe it to yourself to respect that. You deserve better than to be the only one building this relationship, better than to be the only one fighting for something real, better than to keep investing endlessly into a connection that gives you nothing in return. So take a breath. Let that truth settle deep within you. You are not broken for needing more. You are not too much for wanting to be loved fully. You are simply asking for what should already be given. And if he can't or won't give that to you, then it's time to stop waiting. It's time to stop chasing. It's time to walk away, not as someone defeated, but as someone who finally sees the truth, that you are worthy of love that meets you halfway, worthy of a connection that flows both ways, worthy of someone who chooses you just as fiercely as you've chosen them. And until then, you owe it to yourself to stop wasting your heart on someone who no longer treats it like treasure. So let go, not with anger, not with regret, but with clarity, with strength, with the deep knowing that you deserve more. And the moment you start believing that fully is the moment everything changes. You've tried so hard to make this work, haven't you? You've reached out more times than you can count. You've given second chances, third chances, even fourths, because your heart believed in the love you once shared. You told yourself that if you just showed up enough, if you just gave him enough time, he would come back to you. That his silence was temporary, his distance was situational, his withdrawal was just a phase. But how long are you willing to wait? How many more unanswered messages will you accept before you admit the truth? How many more excuses will you believe before you stop letting them hold weight? How many more days will you spend chasing someone who no longer wants to be found? Because here's the thing, clarity doesn't come from hoping harder. It comes from recognizing patterns, from seeing what has already been proven over and over again through actions, not words. And his actions have already spoken. He hasn't shown up the way you deserve. He hasn't met you halfway. He hasn't fought for you like you've fought for him. And still, you keep giving him another chance, another opportunity, another reason to keep walking away without consequence. But real love doesn't require permission to show up. Real love doesn't need to be reminded how much it means to you. Real love runs toward the people who matter, even when they're scared, even when things are unclear, even when life gets complicated. So why isn't he running toward you? Why does every effort feel one-sided? Why does every conversation feel like you're pulling him closer only for him to drift away again? Why do you feel like you're the only one invested in keeping this connection alive? Because somewhere inside, you already know, he's not coming back in the way you hoped. He's not going to suddenly wake up and realize how much you matter. He's not going to return with a grand apology or sweeping declaration of renewed commitment. He's not going to change the pattern unless something forces him to confront it. And even then, there's no guarantee he will. And you don't owe him the energy to wait and find out. You deserve better than to be the only one fighting, better than to be the only one reaching, better than to give endlessly to someone who no longer gives back. So what happens now? Now you take your power back. Now you stop giving him the space to leave you waiting. Now you stop chasing someone who refuses to meet you halfway. Now you shift your focus from trying to save something broken to rebuilding the parts of yourself that got lost along the way. Because this isn't about punishment. This is about self-respect. It's about recognizing that your time, your energy, and your heart are too valuable to waste on someone who no longer sees their worth. You were never meant to carry the weight of a relationship alone. You were made to walk beside someone who walks with you, who supports you, who chooses you, not out of obligation, but out of deep, unwavering devotion. And if he's not doing that, if he's letting you fall further and further behind without making any effort to catch up, then it's not just time to let go, it's time to walk away, not angrily, not bitterly, but with clarity, with strength, with the deep knowing that you deserve love that meets you where you are, love that shows up consistently, love that doesn't disappear when you need it most. So take a breath. Let this settle into every part of you. You are not weak for needing more. You are not broken for wanting to be loved fully. You are simply asking for what should already be given. And until he's ready to give that, until he's ready to show up the way you deserve, he does not get to keep taking pieces of your heart. So release him. Release the hope that things will change. Release the dream of a future that no longer belongs to both of you, and begin turning your energy inward. Begin rebuilding your world around you, around your dreams, your goals, your joy, your peace. Because the moment you stop running after someone who won't run toward you is the moment you start living for yourself again. And that right there is the most powerful decision you can make. Because you are worthy of love that doesn't make you beg for attention, worthy of connection that flows effortlessly, worthy of someone who sees you, values you, and fights for you every single day. And until then, you owe it to yourself to be your own priority, to protect your peace, to choose your growth, to step forward into the kind of life where your heart is no longer left waiting, because you were never meant to chase love that walks away. You were meant to walk beside someone who runs toward you. And the moment you truly believe that is the moment everything changes. You've spent so long trying to hold on to love that no longer holds you. You gave him your time, your energy, your heart, over and over again. You kept showing up, even when he didn't. You kept believing, even when the signs were clear. You kept fighting for something real, even as it slipped through your fingers like sand. And now after everything, after all the silence, the withdrawals, the excuses, the emotional distance, you finally see it. He's not coming back in the way you hoped. The future you imagined with him, The one where he chose you without hesitation, where he showed up fully, where he fought for what you built together. That future isn't his path anymore. And maybe it never was. But here's the most powerful truth you can hold on to right now. That doesn't mean your heart is broken forever. It means your eyes are finally open. It means you're ready to stop chasing someone who's walking away. It means you're ready to reclaim your power, your peace, and your belief that you deserve better. Because this isn't just about letting go of him, it's about letting go of a version of love that was never truly giving you what you deserved in the first place. You were never meant to fight so hard to be valued. You were meant to walk beside someone who sees you, hears you, chooses you effortlessly. And if he couldn't do that, if he let you carry both sides of this connection alone, then you weren't the problem. He was. And now you have the chance to give yourself what he failed to give you. Clarity, self-respect, freedom. You deserve to feel light again, to stop carrying the weight of a relationship that only drained you, to wake up without wondering if today will be the day he finally shows up. Because you don't have to wonder anymore. You already know. And knowing the truth, no matter how painful, is the first step toward healing. So take a deep breath. Let it settle into every part of you. This pain, it won't last forever. But the strength you gain from walking away, that lasts a lifetime. You are not weak for needing more. You are not too much for wanting to be loved fully. You are simply asking for what should already be given. And now you're choosing yourself enough to stop waiting for someone who no longer wants to give it. That is not failure. That is courage. That is growth. That is the moment you begin rebuilding your life, not around someone who walked away, but around you, the person who stayed strong through it all. And once you start doing that, once you start investing your energy into yourself instead of trying to save something that was already gone, something shifts. Your confidence returns. Your joy comes back. Your world opens up in ways you never imagined while you were stuck waiting for someone who wouldn't run toward you. Because that's the thing about walking away. It doesn't mean losing love. It means making space for something deeper, something truer, something that meets you where you are and never lets you feel invisible again. Real love doesn't make you chase it. Real love finds you. Real love shows up. Real love fights for you before you even have to ask. And when that kind of love arrives, and it will feel nothing like the silence you endured. It will feel like home, like peace, like certainty. And you will never again question whether you matter. So let this be the end of waiting. Let this be the end of hoping for someone who no longer sees your worth. Let this be the end of giving your heart to someone who refused to hold it gently. Because from this moment forward, you get to choose differently. You get to live for yourself. You get to build a future that doesn't include empty spaces left by people who no longer wanted to stay. You get to believe in love again. Not the kind that fades, but the kind that stands strong. And most importantly, you get to believe in yourself, in your resilience, in your ability to rise stronger than ever. So take another breath, let go of what no longer serves you, and step forward into the next chapter of your story with clarity, with courage, with the deep knowing that you are worthy of love that doesn't make you wait, worthy of connection that flows effortlessly, worthy of someone who runs toward you just as fiercely as you once ran toward them. And until then, you owe it to yourself to be your own priority, to protect your peace, to embrace your freedom, to live your life with purpose, power, and deep self-love, because you were never meant to chase love that walks away. You were meant to walk beside someone who runs toward you. And now you finally are. You've already done the hardest part. You saw the truth. You faced it. You let it settle deep into your bones until you could no longer pretend it wasn't real. You allowed yourself to feel the pain, to sit with the loss, to acknowledge that what you once had was beautiful, but is no longer growing. And now as you stand on the other side of that realization, something powerful begins to rise within you. Clarity. Not the kind that comes all at once like a lightning strike, but the kind that builds slowly, like the sun rising after the longest night. It doesn't shout. It simply illuminates. It doesn't demand belief. It just shows you the way forward. And as that light spreads, you begin to see something even more important than what you lost. You begin to see yourself again, not as someone broken by heartbreak, not as someone left behind, not as someone who failed at love, but as someone who has grown through it, someone who has walked through fire and come out stronger, someone who has reclaimed their power, piece by piece, word by word, decision by decision. Because walking away from someone you love deeply is not weakness. It's strength beyond measure. It takes courage to release the dream of a future that no longer belongs to both of you. It takes self-respect to stop waiting for someone who won't show up. It takes inner power to choose peace over confusion, growth over stagnation, and freedom over attachment. And you did it. You chose yourself. Not selfishly, not angrily, but deeply, fully, unapologetically. And that choice changes everything. Because when you stop chasing love that walks away, something incredible happens. You start to remember who you are outside of that relationship. You start to reconnect with the parts of yourself that got buried beneath hope, excuses, and effort that went unnoticed. You begin to rediscover your voice, the one that knows how to speak up for what you deserve, your fire, the one that fuels your dreams, your goals, your purpose, or your joy, the one that doesn't depend on someone else's presence to shine. That is where your true power lies, not in trying to win someone back, not in proving your worth to someone who no longer sees it, but in rebuilding your world around you, the person who stayed strong through it all. And as you do that, something shifts. Your confidence returns, your energy lifts, your heart heals, not overnight, not without work, but steadily, deeply, truthfully, because healing is not about forgetting what happened. It's about understanding it, about learning from it, about using it to grow into someone even stronger than before. And that is exactly what you're doing. Every breath you take now is one step further away from pain. Every thought you shift is another layer of self-love restored. Every moment you spend focusing on yourself instead of trying to fix what was already broken is a step toward the life you truly deserve. A life filled with love that sees you, with connection that honors you, with relationships that lift you higher instead of dragging you down. And here's the most powerful truth of all. The same heart that loved him so deeply is still beating inside your chest, and it will love again. Not in the same way, not with the same name, but with even more clarity, with even deeper wisdom, with even greater strength, because you have been through something hard and you survived. No, more than that, you grew, and now you are ready for something better, something truer, something that meets you halfway, not with silence, but with presence, not with distance, but with closeness, not with fading interest, but with unwavering devotion. Real love doesn't make you wait. Real love finds you when you're ready. And now you are. So take a deep breath. Let this final truth settle into every part of you. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are simply becoming the version of yourself that no longer settles. The version that knows her worth, that lives her truth, that walks forward with strength, grace, and unshakable faith in what's next. And whatever comes next, it will be yours. Not because you chased it, not because you begged for it, but because you became the kind of woman who deserves it, who commands it, who attracts it with the sheer power of knowing who she is. So keep going, keep rising, keep believing, because the best is not behind you, it's ahead. And it's waiting for a woman who finally chose herself. That woman is you. And this is just the beginning. You've come so far. From the moment you first felt that quiet ache in your chest, the one that whispered he was slipping away, to this very moment where you stand stronger than ever, you have walked a path of deep transformation. And now you're ready to take the final step. Not just letting go, but stepping into what comes next with full confidence, full intention, full belief in yourself. Because healing isn't just about release, it's also about rebirth. It's not just about walking away from what no longer serves you, it's about walking toward yourself with purpose and power. And that is exactly where you are now. No longer waiting for someone else's validation, no longer chasing love that walked away, no longer questioning your worth because of how someone else chose to treat you. You are here, whole, strong, reclaimed, and now it's time to build a life that reflects that truth, not just in your heart, but in your daily choices, your habits, your mindset, your energy, because self-love is not just a feeling. It is a practice, a powerful, ongoing choice to prioritize your peace, protect your energy, and invest in the person who will always be with you, yourself. So ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to create now? Who do I want to become when I'm no longer holding on to what didn't work? Where can I direct my energy now that I'm free from trying to save something broken? This is your chance to rediscover your joy, to rebuild your confidence, to reconnect with dreams that may have been buried under months or years of emotional struggle. This is your time, not to fall back into old patterns, not to repeat cycles of chasing people who don't fully show up, but to rise above them, to choose a new path, one built on clarity, strength, and deep self-respect. And the most beautiful part? You already have everything you need inside you. The resilience to walk away, the wisdom to see things clearly, the courage to start over. That is who you are now. And from this place, you get to make decisions that align with that truth. You get to say no to anything that doesn't honor your worth. You get to set boundaries that protect your peace. You get to open your heart again, but only when you're truly ready. You get to dream bigger, live fuller, love deeper, but only with someone who meets you with the same level of honesty, effort, and devotion that you give. Because you deserve that. Now, more than ever, you believe that. And that belief changes everything. Because once you know your worth, you stop settling. Once you feel your power, you stop waiting. Once you remember your value, you stop giving pieces of your heart to people who refuse to cherish them. So take a deep breath. Let this moment settle into your soul. You are not defined by what you walked away from. You are defined by what you choose next, by how you show up for yourself, by how you build your future, by how you live your truth, unapologetically and deeply. And as you move forward, from this video, from this chapter, from this journey, you carry with you something far more powerful than any relationship that ends. You carry clarity, strength, freedom, and the deep knowing that you are worthy of love that sees you, of connection that honors you, of relationships that lift you higher, not drain your light. So keep going, keep growing, keep believing in yourself. Because the moment you stopped running after people who wouldn't run toward you is the moment you started living for yourself. And from this point forward, your life becomes a reflection of that choice, one filled with purpose, with passion, with peace, with love that shows up on its own, without chase, without silence, without fading interest, just presence, just warmth, just truth. And that love, it begins with the one you give yourself. Because you were never meant to chase love that walks away. You were meant to walk beside someone who runs toward you. And now you finally are. You've already made the most difficult choice. Not the one to walk away. That was clear once you saw the truth. No, the hardest part was deciding that your peace mattered more than the illusion of love. That your self-respect mattered more than the comfort of staying in something that no longer served you. That your future mattered more than holding on to a past that had already let go. And now you're standing at the edge of something new, something powerful, something that doesn't feel like an ending, but a beginning. Because walking away from what no longer works is not defeat. It's the first step toward building what truly does. And that is where your power lies, not in chasing someone who stopped choosing you, but in creating a life where you are the priority, where you wake up each morning knowing your worth without needing someone else to remind you, where your happiness comes from within, not from someone else's presence or approval, where your energy is protected, your heart guarded, and your dreams pursued with boldness and clarity. Because here's the truth. You were never meant to find your value in how much someone wanted you. You were meant to carry it within you always. Even when love fades, even when people leave, even when things don't work out the way you hoped. That value never changed. It was only buried beneath doubt, confusion, and longing for something that no longer existed. And now you're uncovering it again, piece by piece, moment by moment, choice by powerful choice. This is your rebirth, not just emotionally, but energetically. You are becoming someone who no longer allows fading love to define her worth. Someone who walks away with dignity instead of desperation. Someone who chooses silence over noise, stillness over struggle, and strength over sadness. And that shift? It changes everything. Because when you stop waiting for someone to give you value and start living as if you already have it, you begin attracting experiences, people, and opportunities that reflect that truth. You begin drawing in relationships that see you clearly. You begin opening doors that align with your purpose. You begin stepping into a version of yourself that no heartbreak could ever erase. This is not about forgetting him. It's about moving forward because of what you learned through loving him. About using that experience to grow into someone even stronger than before, someone who knows her limits, someone who honors her needs, someone who refuses to settle for anything less than full devotion. And that kind of woman, she does not chase love. Love finds her, because she no longer hides her light behind hope for something broken. She shines it boldly in every decision, every word, every action. So ask yourself, what do I want my life to look like now? How can I invest in myself in ways I never did while I was trying to save a connection that no longer grew? What dreams have I put on hold because I was too busy holding on to what was slipping away? These are not questions of loss. They are invitations to rise, to rebuild, to reclaim everything that got lost along the way. And you are ready, more than ready, because you have been through the fire and you came out stronger. You have faced pain and you chose healing. You have let go, and now you are free to create something even better. So take this moment. Hold it close. Let it fuel you. Let it remind you that you are allowed to dream again, allowed to hope again, allowed to open your heart again, but only when you know it's safe. Allowed to build a future that reflects the strength you now carry. Because you deserve all of that. You deserve a life where you are fully seen, fully valued, fully loved, and most importantly, fully yourself. So keep going, keep rising, keep believing in who you are becoming, because the best is not behind you, it is ahead, waiting for a woman who finally chose herself. That woman is you. And this is just the beginning. You've already done the work. You faced the silence that once confused you and gave it a name. You saw the distance for what it was, not just absence, but emotional withdrawal. You recognized the fading conversations, the slipping priorities, the disappearing effort, and instead of convincing yourself it would change, you chose to see it clearly. And now, standing at the edge of who you are becoming, you realize something powerful. You no longer need anyone's permission to feel whole again. Because healing isn't about being fixed by someone else. It's about rebuilding your world from within, stone by stone, moment by moment, belief by belief, until you stand completely in your own power. That power never left you. It was only buried beneath hope, beneath waiting, beneath giving your heart to someone who stopped showing up the way you deserved. But now you're here, not broken, not lost, but deeply aware of your worth. And with that awareness comes a new kind of strength, one that doesn't beg for love but commands it. One that doesn't chase connection, but creates it with people who meet you with honesty, presence, and effort. One that doesn't settle for silence, but speaks up for what deserves to be heard. This is not an ending. This is a beginning wrapped in clarity, a rebirth built on self-respect, a future shaped by every lesson you learned through loving someone who no longer loved you the same way. So ask yourself this: what do I want my energy to create now? Where can I direct my heart next? Who do I choose to become when I'm no longer defined by what didn't work? These are not questions of loss. They are invitations to step into the fullness of who you are, to build a life that reflects your deepest values, to live with purpose, passion, and peace, not because everything went perfectly, but because you chose to rise above what didn't. Because real strength is not found in never falling. It is found in rising each time you do. And you have risen again and again, until you reached a place where you no longer question your worth based on how someone else treated you. Until you no longer measure your value by whether or not someone wants you. Until you finally understand that love should never leave you wondering if you matter. Because you do. Deeply, fully, unshakably. And the moment you truly believe that, without needing anyone else to confirm it, you begin attracting a life that reflects that truth. You start drawing in relationships where you are seen, opportunities that honor your gifts, experiences that align with your soul. Because when you walk in alignment with your highest self, the universe responds, not out of obligation, not out of pity, but because energy follows energy. And you are now vibrating from a place of deep knowing, of self-love, of courage, of unshakable truth. You were never meant to stay in a space where you felt invisible. You were meant to shine, to lead with your heart, to walk beside someone who sees your light and chooses to stand in it with you. And until then, you owe it to yourself to keep building, keep growing, keep believing in the kind of love that meets you halfway, the kind that shows up without being reminded, the kind that fights for connection instead of drifting away. And most importantly, you owe it to yourself to keep choosing you, to keep protecting your peace, to keep investing in your dreams, because you are worthy of all of it. Worthy of love that sees you, worthy of connection that honors you, worthy of a future that brings you joy without confusion. So take a breath. Let this truth settle deep within you. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are simply becoming the version of yourself that no longer settles, the version that knows her worth, that lives her truth, that walks forward with strength, grace, and unshakable faith in what's next. And whatever comes next, it will be yours, not because you chased it, not because you begged for it, but because you became the kind of woman who deserves it, who commands it, who attracts it with the sheer power of knowing who she is. So keep going, keep rising, keep believing, because the moment you stopped running after people who wouldn't run toward you is the moment you started living for yourself. And from this point forward, your life becomes a reflection of that choice, one filled with purpose, with passion, with peace, with love that shows up on its own, without chase, without silence, without fading interest, just presence, just warmth, just truth. And that love, it begins with the one you give yourself, because you were never meant to chase love that walks away. You were meant to walk beside someone who runs toward you. And now you finally are.